Tonight, we are getting a significant look at history as we learn about the early science of medicine in the Valley. Cameron County Historical Commissioner Eugene Fernandez has and brings us the details this evening on Throwback Thursday.
The focus of this segment is on the doctors. Behind me, you see a significant piece in the history of medical science in the Valley. And this is the Works Sanitarium from Dr. B.O. Works. South Texas and those people that were here, the native people, and then as well as the colonists that came on in the area after 1848, really depended more on your Native American Indian cures, the curandera, than they did the doctors. The first organized, say, medicine that came into the area was here in about 1855, and that was Dr. Charles Berthoud Combe. Dr. Combe was well-schooled from the Northeast, and the thing that's so beautiful about his legacy is that he had 3 of his sons that went into medical science as well. You had Joseph, then you had Charles Jr., and then you had Frederick. Original Dr. Combe, their father, was involved in the Civil War in the area, and he was a surgeon at that time. His son, Frederick, he was very much sought after for his medical expertise. Not too far from here, by about 3 blocks, was a rudimentary hospital, and that was the Charity Home, if you can imagine that. Now, the Charity Home was a little cottage that was set up by some of the ladies of society here in Brownsville, and more than anything, they just tended to the healing of superficial wounds. Nora Kelly was the one that was really the brains behind the establishment of the Charity Home. Now, it evolved, that's 1913, it evolved into what we next knew as Mercy Hospital, 1923. And that was the first real hospital that we had. Now let's get off into the doctors themselves. Those of you that are old enough will remember what's called house calls. Now, that is a strange phrase. People in the modern world are not even aware of what a house call is, unless it's by a technician establishing your cable service. No, doctors did house calls. They had the little leather bag and they had the buggy, and they went out home to home when they got a person coming up to them running and says, "My mother's sick, can you come on over to the house?" And so that's what they did. The accounts receivable from these doctors back then could have actually propelled these doctors into retirement 5, 10 times over, because they charged very little if they charged anything at all. There was a Dr. Renfro, Dr. James Linton Renfro, that was here, began service about the teens. And the saying goes that he delivered everybody's babies. That man actually worked himself to death because he went around at the dark of the night on a call, and he died at a young age of 65. The whole city shut down for his funeral. That's how beloved he was. Now, I'm going to focus on another Renfro, and that was his son, James Ballard Renfro. And I knew him well. He was like a second father to me. Dr. Renfro, the younger, was the same way as his father was. He would go off in the dark of the night, and I remember times when I was in junior high school and whatever, I'd stop by his office, and he says, "Can you come with me? I was tending to this lady, and she missed her bus." Well, where is he going to take her? He was going to drive her all the way to Port Isabel. Can you imagine the humanity of this doctor? If you wanted to form a colony in early South Texas, you had to have 3 people on your team. One would be a blacksmith, the other one would be a priest or a minister, and the third would be a pharmacist. The pharmacists were relied upon as the early doctors of the area. If you had any kind of an ailment, they would have a potion or a tonic or an elixir that would cure whatever ailed you. Just prior to the Civil War, there was a doctor that came into the area that was very renowned. He was Dr. Charles McManus, and came over with Zachary Taylor. Then around the turn of the century, you had Dr. Arthur Spawn. He started out in Corpus Christi, and intermittently he came into South Texas, into Brownsville area. They took the Hippocratic Oath to heart. If there was any kind of a problem about payment, they didn't care. They just did it anyway until that particular patient got well. The doctors of these old times worked their way into our hearts. These doctors brought us into this world, many of them. And beyond that, they gave back to society. They gave so much to our community, and the rest is history. For KVEO News, I'm Eugene Fernandez.